How do we pursue all our dreams with only 24 hours in a day?
How do we learn to love ourselves despite all of our flaws?
How do we strive to be better when perfection can't really be attained?
Hello, madams!
It's your internet ates again, answering your questions and figuring out our own answers as we go along.
I am Rizza LANA-SEBASTIAN.
I am Bernos.
And you're listening to the Bootcamp for Grown-Ups in Progress,
Camp Confidence.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Bootcamp for Grown-Ups in Progress, Camp Confidence!
Hey mga madam, welcome back to another episode, and this is special because as you can see, we have guests today. So these beautiful women with us are Cosmo.ph editors, Pisha and Andy.
Hey guys!
Hello! Thanks for having us.
Welcome! A super exciting episode for today, madam, because aside from first face-to-face interview guesting natin, we will be talking about Cosmo.ph's Women of Influence.
Yeah. Bilang we are wrapping up Women's Month, we want to talk about our list of your women of influence and at the same time what it means to be influential women. So let's dive deep into the discussion and start with the first question. Bilang Miss Universe, ganun. So I want to ask you guys, ano ba ang goal sa inyo and what does it mean to be influential?
So for me, I think being influential is very subjective to each person. If we go by the dictionary definition, it's the capacity apparently to have an effect on someone's behavior or character. But if we go by my definition, I think it's more about having a positive effect on someone's character or their behavior or their thought process, kind of acting like a role model to that person in kind of influencing how we want that person to view certain things. So for example, if you want to be considered a good influence to your siblings, then you kind of step up, show them right from wrong, show them it's okay to learn from the mistakes. You don't have to be perfect every day. As an ate, I'm sure some of us can relate here. We always want to put that best foot forward, but I think it's important for us to know din na we don't have to be the best that we can be all the time.
Madam na madam. Ganyan talaga yung mga
ate. As a panganay.
Panganay probs.
Yes, totoo.
For me, pag may sinabi kayo na yung tao na yun, goal siya, it's someone who inspires you to be better and siya yung, it gives you a little dose of motivation, to work extra hard for that day kasi, there's something that you're looking forward to. So, for me, that's someone who's influential.
Yeah. Ang laking bagay talaga ng distinction na not just somebody who makes a difference, but makes a positive difference, positive impact. Ikaw, madam, anong goals sa'yo?
Ako, goals, someone aspirational, na parang gusto kong pumunta rin kung nasan siya. And then you'll strive to go there then. Tapos parang kapag nandun ka na, oh my gosh, iba yung feeling, iba yung mga emotions na andun. How about you, Madam Ayan?
Same naman. Like, I always think about the people na for me talagang nakakabago, not just my life in general, but like the outlook and seeing all the opportunities that you can have pala. Like you see yourself in them. Like for example, I want to go a little specific. For me, my woman of influence, my personal, pero totoo, like Bianca Gonzalez has been my goals forever. Even to this day, she recently had the trip for her 40th birthday. Kasi ako, kahit na that's not career-related, to me, that's still so aspirational. And I realized na as a Morena woman, as a host, as a creator, as an advocate, like her life is such a great example of what we could be. So to me, siya yung role model ko. And like speaking of women of influence, we wanted to ask you guys if you have any personal people that you look up to, or to be specific, maybe somebody this year who have affected your lives in any way.
I just wanted to add before we skip over Bianca, I loved her barefaced photo shoot.
Yes.
Like flaws and all. The time is now talaga for hashtag no filter selfies.
Correct.
So for me personally, I mean it's such a cop-out answer for some, but my mom, my grandmother, there's no way closer to home than to show, I guess, the women in your life how to be the best that they can be. And having such strong female influences surrounding me growing up, there was nothing I could regret learning from them or listening to them day by day. I mean, syempre naman, all the kwenta growing up, you'll have your arguments here and there with the different generational thoughts or their beliefs and all of that. But I think the best lessons you can learn are from the experiences of someone who's lived through something and taught them something. So my mom and my lola, we'll touch upon definitely the other more influential women later on. But I definitely want to hear from you, Rizza and Pisha.
Yeah. For me, alam mo sa akin, paiba-iba yung, paiba-iba yung life peg ko. Like, depending sa kung ano yung goal ko at that phase of my life. So ngayon, ang mga favorite ko ngayon pakinggan, so sila Belle and Ava Daza.
Oh, yeah.
You know, kasi nung pandemic, like, sobrang hilig ko sa podcast. Kasi of course, you know, we were all stuck in our homes at sa rooms natin. So Belle and Ava, you know, I loved listening to their podcast, and ang dami ko natutunan, you know, about sexual health and other interesting stuff about sex. And and I also love listening to like Sky Podcast, Chris and Slater, you know. I love like just having, you know, someone, parang hindi, na-feel ko na hindi ako mag-isa sa kwarto ko. Parang yan.
Yeah.
So how about you guys?
Love it, love it. Ako naman, speaking of influence talaga, syempre, aside from my mom also, she's one of the strongest women I know talaga in my life. I remember talagang ginagaya ko paano siya maglagay ng skincare, ng makeup, alam mo yun, parang ano yung mga mannerisms niya. That's number one, my mom. Next na influential talaga sa akin is my fitness instructor. Si Miss O. Si Miss O. She's amazing. She's also a mom. Tapos, talagang parang nanay-nanayan ko na siya to a point na I met her nung time na I was such a workaholic. I would work hours on end, talaga as in weekends. Tapos, siya yung nagsabi sa akin na, Riz, you really have to pause, take care of yourself. You can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself. So, tinuruan niya ako sa fitness, alam mo yun, to be physically strong with my nutrition as well. So, I hope when I get to her age, ganun din ako kalakas.
Na-witness ko yung transformation ni Rizza through Miss O because yung from filming Camp Confidence, ngayon, dumatating siya na recording. Ay, madam, I just got back from my workout. So, who is she? Naging
She's
gym
a fitness girl or whatever.
Oo. Yogi, fit girl, meditation girly, lahat na. And it's really interesting how, you know, women, by the way, shout out to my mom. Baka sinasabi mo, di kita sinasabi dito sa podcast eh. Pero she always listens to everything. Literally watches everything I do. Minsan nakikita ko yung pangalan ko sa TV namin. Ayun, Bernos on YouTube, ganun. But anyway, like, I feel like it's so important how different women influence us in so many different ways. And this definitely reflects in the list of Cosmo PH's Women of Influence for 2023. And I found the list so interesting because you have women from different industries, different backgrounds, and talagang diverse sila. So can you tell us about your selection process? How did this list come to be? Paano yung selection process niyo? Because I know you have 7, pero paano siya na-narrow down?
So we started actually the initial Cosmopolitan Women of Influence list back in 2019. This was very first inaugural list. We had 8 celebrities who we believe deserve the title a Woman of Influence. These celebrities were actually women from all walks of the industry. They really used their platforms to kind of spark a conversation about their specific causes or industries, whether it was about humanitarian aid, LGBTQIA community support, being outspoken about feminism or colorism or body positivity or anything like that. And we also had a list that started in the height of the lockdown in 2020. And then, of course, we decided in 2023, this year, to kind of change things up a bit because it kind of sparked a conversation about the idea of community, the idea of influence. We all have friends, and we are, some of us here in this conversation, content creators. So what does it really mean to be a celebrity, to be an influencer? What does even that word influence mean? So when we were talking as a team, we didn't want to just limit it to the mainstream definition of a celebrity where you're an artista that appears on a big or small screen. We wanted to really show and honor the people who kind of have an influence within their small pockets of community. So for example, Frances Cabatuando, she's the founder of Home Buddies.
Mayora.
Thank you for the boodle. But these women like Frances, people might not necessarily think of them, or they might not be first to mind when it comes to think of celebrity, quote unquote. But she does have an influence, over 3.1 million followers on Home Buddies. And her influence is positive. It didn't initially start off as a community. She said she started it off as a way for her to kind of communicate with fellow home buddies who kind of wanted to be in on the boodle. But then you hear stories nowadays about couples who meet in Home Buddies, couples who get engaged there. It's kind of like its own little community of kapitbahays who are supportive. And we really wanted to highlight not just the mainstream celebrity, but the content creators, those who have influence in their own platform, and really show that having influence is not just about follower count, but it's about your impact on your community.
That's so interesting. I love that. What about you, Pisha?
Yeah, and we also have, of course, in the list, we have directors, Antoinette Hadaone and Samantha Lee, who have been using their talent to spark conversations and to also promote, inclusivity, especially in the entertainment industry. And then we also have TikToker Rain Matienzo.
We love her here.
Rain.
Yeah, we love Rain. And, Rain, natuwa siya kasi, growing up, she didn't see someone who looked like her on screen. So it's very, it's very refreshing, and it's very, we love that, we're seeing more people like her, and like, of course, Ayin and other fellow Morenas.
And we also wanted to highlight not just people who had really important views in society, but also those who spoke up for their own community. Yeah. So if any of you have seen our recognition dinner videos, we had Mel Habijan start off with an amazing speech about how she felt included. And for us, and in 2023, it's all about inclusivity. So Women's Month isn't just for those who are the stereotypical cis femme woman, right? They're all types of people who identify as a woman nowadays. And we wanted to show that we accept you, we include you, and we see you, and we support that. So we didn't want to just have people who kind of talk the talk. We wanted them to show that, or Cosmo as a brand also, but us as editors and our own personal feelings, we wanted to show that. So not just Mela, not just Rain, we also had celebrities who kind of speak up using their own platforms. So the reason why we chose Isabel and Ava, like we were speaking earlier, was because of them using their platform as a way to educate, as a way to kind of open up the supposed taboo topics of sexual health and wellness, which shouldn't be a taboo topic in 2023. But we really want to get that foot forward. This is Cosmo after all, so why not use the brand as a platform to talk about that? And of course, not just our Women of Influence awardee, but our March cover girl, President Nadine Lustre.
Yes.
So she's very outspoken about what she believes in, and we all know what that is. So we know that she's always been very outspoken about being proudly Morena. Her changes in her appearance, also the reason for her finding importance in mental health. The fact that celebrities are now more outspoken nowadays about mental health is a good thing, because it teaches their young followers that mental health is important. It should be a priority. And for example, for Women's Month, right, we celebrate it every year, but the kind of conversation that we had when we were putting together our list is how we should find women who don't just celebrate being a woman during Women's Month, but celebrate it every day. So
That's
It's so inspiring and refreshing, honestly. As someone na lumaki sa magazines with these different kinds of press, and now that we are talking about inclusivity, body positivity, colorism, and all of those good things, those important things, I really honor actually Cosmo for talking about this, for creating a platform for us to talk about these things. I can imagine it's very hard for you as editors. And I want to ask, how do you hold that much responsibility? Is there a lot of pressure na parang, okay,
ikaw na bahala.
the pressure.
Yeah, that's Cosmo.ph.
Yeah. Publishing an article really is a responsibility. So you really have to, do our research and to make sure that our message is positive, is empowering. So you really have to, think twice before you put something out there, because you'll never know kung sino yung makakabasa ng article na yan. So,
Yeah.
I also think it's important to kind of own up to your mistakes. So I know that whenever we publish things in the digital world, it's a lot easier than in print days, where if there was a mistake, you had to recall the magazine or publish an erratum in the next magazine. Whereas nowadays, you can tweak an article right away and add erratum, this original article piece said said. But even the fact that you can edit it on the fly doesn't mean that you should be lax in what Pisha said, the research and taking into account or having the accountability of owning up to the mistake. So obviously there have been times in the past where it might not have even just been a typo, but like a research fact check, for example. But I think it's really important to show our audience that Cosmo, not just the brand, but the editors are human, and we do make mistakes and we own up to it, more importantly, because we want to show them that yes, you can make mistakes and it's important to own up to it. But at the end of the day, the fact that the brand is willing to either take critique or to kind of showcase the, yes, there's a bit of a flaw in that article, but we've tweaked it or we fixed it according to your feedback. It really shows that we're very importantly taking into account our readers' opinions, because they are our audience. They're the people who we're writing for, and they're also the readership that we're really trying to provide either an experience for or a guide for, or what we can say a life peg for. We're really trying to be there for the fun and fearless and forward Panay of 2023.
I love it. Cosmo has been such a big part, even for me, like, of growing up, of growing into my womanhood. I wanted to ask, just as a follow-up question for you guys, as Cosmo girls, like longtime Cosmo girls, and as editors, you hold such a powerful position and an influential position to be the voice of the brand as well. So what has been the influence of a Cosmo naman for you guys in your personal lives?
oh my gosh. Actually, ang dami kong, natutunan ever since I started working for Cosmo, Parang feeling ko yung perspective ko, it really grew. Because of the brand, we're talking to fun, fearless, and forward Pinay. So, yeah.
I personally went through nearly 7 years in Cosmo. It was my first job out of college, and I have gone through a lot of learnings, I guess, because every single immediate boss I've had who spearheaded the Cosmo brand has been female. So we started all the way with Mirza Season, and then with Jill Gacheco, and now with Marge Ramos, and my co-editor in crime, Irene Apuente, and Pisha, who's here with me right now, and of course my Cosmo team as well. So really growing up in a brand where it's female-led, and the boss of your company is female, and the main kind of keys or key points in the team are female as well. It really kind of shapes the way that, not just how we pitch articles, but also what we even think to pitch. What is of a service to our readers? What can we think about providing them, whether it's educational or a fluff piece or an opinion piece? How can we make it more for readers. So for me, it kind of taught me to think in a way that was different from when I first entered the brand. It also opened me up to a whole lot of experiences and topics that I originally wouldn't have felt comfortable discussing. Things like sex, things like relationships in general, the way different relationships are defined. We even have words like situationship now.
Yeah.
So all of that. So kind of growing up with Cosmo from my childhood, and then growing up with Cosmo as a career and then as an adult, it's kind of such an interesting transition to have, because it's a select few who can say that I grew up with Cosmo as a reader, and then now I'm growing up with Cosmo as a writer, right? So, and you've also contributed as well.
Yeah.
So you kind of can get that experience of like, oh, I originally grew up reading these stories, and now I'm the one writing these. So I have to have a viewpoint that the readers will understand, or I kind of have to impart some knowledge to them. So it's definitely a responsibility, and it's not one that we take lightly.
I love that. From, being the people in front of the article, reading the articles, and now you're the ones producing. Now you're the ones making lists.
Full circle moment.
Yeah, amazing. Madam, I have a question for you. Now that we've had this conversation with our very first guests for the season, I wanted to ask you do you have anything that changed about like your definition of influence, and how do you see yourself moving forward with that definition as a leader of your company, as the woman of your household, etc.?
Definition. I feel like the young Rizza, na as in very aspirational, na parang everything is positive, kaya natin to lahat. And then I transitioned into reality check. Ito ang buhay. Ito ang totoong buhay. Yung kind of influence of women that I look up to are the ones na nababasa ko yung mga storya nila. Gaano ba sila nahirapan? Alam mo yun, parang mafe-feel ko na parang, okay, nahirapan din naman pala siya. I'm not alone. And I feel like those kind of women na went through so much in life is like a warm hug to me na, okay lang, when I'm going through difficult moments, when I'm crying myself to sleep, when I have so much imposter syndrome, I look at these successful people and tell myself na, hey, okay lang, kasi nagkaka-imposter syndrome din sila. And I feel like yung influence nila had so much effect on me na parang, okay, I should also be, I just have to let myself be. I just have to let life be in case mahirap ang buhay or masaya ang buhay. I don't know. Parang mas realist ako ngayon, madams.
Yes! Hindi na lang isa.
Mas realist ako in terms of my influences in life right now. And how about you, madam? As someone who has a bigger influence in the internet.
Ay, nako. It's weird. Because I feel like it gets harder the more quote-unquote influential you are. Parang before, I was so sure of myself. I was so sure of what I wanted to do, the messages that I wanted to share. But I guess the bigger the platform grew, the more confused and the more real it felt na parang, okay. That's such a big responsibility. There's definitely pressure, not just to not make mistakes, but at the same time, to always be accountable. Merong days na parang, shucks, being vulnerable before was so easy for me, but now it's like, if I act the same way, people will either misconstrue it, or people will either think na that's wrong, or, just have people having different opinions. But at the end of the day, when I look at the women of influence that I also admire and see that they go through the same thing, like the women of influence that we recognize today with Cosmo, President Nadine, like these women hold an even bigger pressure, and they do it so well with grace. And even when they don't necessarily deal with it as well, parang they're always ready to get back up naman. So to me, that's very inspiring, and to me, that's I want to keep going because sometimes when you feel like gusto ko na magtago, gusto ko na lang, keep to my small circle, not branch out because people might misunderstand. I see the women of influence and know that you can continue to do it. You can be human and still hold the responsibility and come out stronger. So yun, I'm just so inspired by them. Now to just wrap things up, guys, I wanted to ask you, both of you, now how do you define influence, I guess, in your own personal lives, and how do you want to move forward with that? Maybe we can start with Andy.
Okay. For me, defining influence in my personal life, I think influence for me, based on our conversation today, and also kind of picking up on the keywords that the Women of Influence awardees spoke in our Cosmo video, it's both a power and a responsibility to echo a certain character. We kind of take into account how many content creators there are nowadays who are also, or were also called influencers. So by the word itself, most people would consider them influential. But like you said, once your platform grew, you kind of felt like you had a responsibility to be accountable. So I think in my personal life, influence for me is making sure that I'm careful in how I am perceived by others, whether it's my words or my actions, especially as an editor, words are power. So I really have to be careful with what I put out in the world, whether that's a Cosmo article or even my public account, since people can see it. But I also think that at the end of the day, as long as my beliefs in and values are honest and true to myself and what I put across, then I think I'm happy with that.
I love that.
Influence, as you mentioned nga, it's really important to be careful of what you put out there. But at the same time, don't also be scared to put yourself out there because you'll never know kung sino yung mai-inspire sa'yo. So just be yourself. Be careful, but at the same time, if yung pinopost mo, if that's something that you strongly believe in, and if you know that it will have a positive impact to your readers, then I just go out there and just post it.
Yeah.
Post and don't delete later.
Yes.
Such an inspiring and refreshing conversation,
Ang saya pag
madam.
hindi lang tayong dalawa, no?
Totoo.
Thank you for inviting us, madam.
Thank you.
madam.
And congratulations on this.
Thank you so much.
Ngayon, guys, if you want to learn more, where can, I mean, you know where to find Cosmo, but let's reiterate that anyway.
So our website, please click www.cosmo.ph and follow us on our social media accounts. That's Instagram at Cosmopolitan_Philippines, TikTok at CosmopolitanPH, and Twitter at Cosmo_PH.
Love that. Well, thank you again so much, madams, Pisha and Andy, for joining us.
I'm a madam.
Yeah, you guys are madams
You
now.
are. Thank you so much, Madam Hoods, for listening. And please don't forget to rate us 5 stars minimum. Ayan, watch us on YouTube as well at Camp Confidence. Follow us everywhere. We are at Camp Confidence Radio. And follow us also. I am at Rizza Lana.
At Bernos, and this has been the boot camp for grown-ups in progress. Camp Confidence. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.